Before you hear this story, I want you to understand something. This isn't just about family secrets or manipulation or even betrayal. It's about how the people closest to us can become strangers without us noticing, especially when love becomes a blindfold instead of a bridge. We're taught to protect ourselves from outsiders, from obvious threats, from people who clearly mean harm. But nobody warns you about the danger that lives under your own roof. The kind that smiles at breakfast, hugs you goodnight, and quietly rewrites your reality while you sleep. As you listen, don't be quick to pick sides. Instead, ask yourself this: would I have seen the signs if I were living it? My name is Claire. I'm 52 years old, and I discovered my own son was slowly erasing me from my life while standing in my kitchen, staring at a bottle of vitamins that should have been nearly full. The bottle sat on the counter, amber plastic catching the afternoon light. It was supposed to last a month. I'd opened it 6 days ago. Now it was 2/3 empty. My son Harper stood in the doorway, his face calm, almost too calm. "Mom, you've been taking them twice a day instead of once," he said gently. "Remember? We talked about this." I didn't remember, and that terrified me. The room felt smaller suddenly, like the walls had moved an inch closer while I wasn't paying attention. Harper kept talking, his voice smooth and patient, but I wasn't really hearing him anymore. My eyes stayed fixed on that bottle, because deep down, in a place I hadn't wanted to look, I knew something was very wrong. To understand how I got here, I need to go back. I live in Cedar Falls, Iowa, in one of those older neighborhoods where the houses have wide porches and the kind of history that makes you feel rooted. Oak trees line every street. In October, the leaves turn gold and red, and the whole town looks like a postcard. I work as a reference librarian at the Cedar Falls Public Library. It's a quiet job, the kind people forget exists until they need it. I help students find sources, guide retirees through genealogy databases, and keep the place organized. I've been there for 19 years, long enough to know where every book belongs, even in the dark. Harper is my only child. He's 28, works in tech support from home, smart, capable, always been a little intense. We've always been close, maybe too close. After his father died 8 years ago, it became just the two of us. Harper never moved out. Said he wanted to help with the house, with bills, with me. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? That Thursday started like any other. I made coffee, checked my emails, got ready for my shift at the library. Harper was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop, same as always. "Morning, Mom," he said without looking up. "Morning, sweetheart." I poured my coffee and noticed the vitamin bottle sitting out. I'd been taking supplements for a few months now. Harper had suggested them after I mentioned feeling tired. He'd researched brands, ordered them online, even set reminders on my phone. "Don't forget your vitamin," he said, still focused on his screen. I picked up the bottle and shook one into my palm. Small, white, unassuming. I swallowed it with my coffee and went about my day. At work, I helped a college student track down articles on climate policy. I restocked the return cart. I answered the same questions I'd answered 100 times before. Everything felt normal, except for one small thing. Around noon, I couldn't remember if I'd locked the back door before leaving the house. I texted Harper to check. He replied immediately, "Already locked it for you. You forgot again." Again. That word sat heavy in my chest. When I got home that evening, Harper had dinner ready. Chicken stir-fry, one of my favorites. We ate together like we always did, talking about our days, about nothing important. Then, as I was clearing the table, he said, "Mom, you left the stove on this morning." I froze. "What?" "After you made coffee. The burner was still on when I went downstairs. I turned it off." My stomach dropped. I don't remember using the stove." He gave me a soft, concerned look. "You heated water for tea. You do it every morning." But I hadn't made tea. I was sure of it. I only drank coffee on weekdays. "Harper, I don't think." "It's okay, Mom," he interrupted gently. "You've been stressed. It happens." I wanted to argue, but doubt crept in. Maybe I had forgotten. Maybe I was more tired than I realized. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the day in my mind. Trying to remember the stove, the door, the tea I supposedly made. Nothing came back. The next morning, I found a note on the fridge in Harper's handwriting. "Mom, took your vitamin. Ate breakfast. M." I stared at it, confused. I didn't remember him writing it. I didn't remember taking anything. But the vitamin bottle was sitting on the counter, cap off. exactly where I would have left it. I felt a cold prickling at the back of my neck. Not fear yet, just awareness. The kind you get when you walk into a room and know someone's been there, even though nothing looks disturbed. At the library that afternoon, my coworker Janet asked if I was feeling all right. "You seem distracted," she said. "I'm fine," I lied. But I wasn't. And somewhere deep down, I was starting to wonder if I ever would be again. I started paying attention after that. Not in an obvious way. I didn't want Harper to notice. I just watched, listened, kept mental notes of small things I normally wouldn't have questioned. On Saturday morning, I woke up groggy, heavier than usual. My mouth was dry, and my head felt like it was wrapped in cotton. I stumbled to the kitchen and found Harper already there, making breakfast. "Rough night?" he asked, flipping pancakes. "I guess so," I said, though I didn't remember having trouble sleeping. "You were restless," he said. "I heard you moving around at like 3 a.m. I poured myself water and tried to remember. Nothing. Just blank space where the night should have been. Harper set a plate in front of me. "Eat. You'll feel better." I picked at the food, but my appetite was gone. Something felt off. Not wrong exactly, just tilted. Like when a picture frame hangs crooked and you can't stop noticing it. Later that day, I went upstairs to my bedroom and stood in the doorway, really looking at it for the first time in weeks. Everything was where it should be. Bed made, dresser organized, curtains pulled back just the way I liked them. But my pill organizer was sitting on my nightstand. I never kept it there. I always left it in the bathroom. I walked over and picked it up. Monday through Sunday, each compartment labeled. Thursday's slot was empty. Today was Saturday. My chest tightened. I opened the drawer of my nightstand and found a small notebook I didn't recognize. Plain black, spiral-bound. I flipped it open. Inside were dates. Times. Notes written in Harper's handwriting. September 14th. Mom forgot to lock door. Reminded her. September 18th. Left stove on again. Turned it off. September 21st. Couldn't find her keys. Found them in the fridge. The fridge. I stopped breathing. I'd never put my keys in the fridge. Never. I was careful about things like that. Obsessively careful. But there it was, written down like fact. Like evidence. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the notebook with shaking hands. My mind raced, trying to remember these incidents, trying to match them to real memories. Nothing fit. I thought about the vitamins, about the fog in my head, about waking up tired even after a full night's sleep. And then, for the first time, I let myself think the thought I'd been avoiding. What if Harper is doing this on purpose? The idea felt impossible. This was my son, the boy I raised, the one who stayed with me after his father died, who helped me through the hardest years of my life. But the notebook didn't lie. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Quickly, I shoved the notebook back in the drawer and stood up, trying to look casual. Harper appeared in the doorway. "Hey, you okay? You've been up here a while." "Just looking for something," I said, keeping my voice light. He smiled. "You're always looking for something lately." The words hung in the air, soft but sharp. That night, I didn't take my vitamin. I held it in my hand, stared at it, then quietly dropped it down the bathroom sink drain while the water was running. Harper knocked on the door. "Mom, you all right in there?" "Fine," I called back. "Just getting ready for bed." "Don't forget your vitamin," he said through the door. "Already took it," I lied. I waited until I heard his footsteps retreat down the hall. Then I turned off the light and climbed into bed, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I didn't sleep well, but when I woke up the next morning, my head was clearer than it had been in weeks. The fog had lifted just enough for me to see the shapes moving inside it. At breakfast, I tested something. "Harper, did you move my pill organizer?" It was in the bathroom, and now it's on my nightstand. He looked up from his phone, his face perfectly calm. "You moved it yesterday, remember? You said it was easier to remember if you kept it by the bed." I don't remember saying that. His expression shifted. Just a flicker of something I couldn't quite name. Concern? Frustration? "Mom," he said gently, "this is exactly what I've been worried about." "What do you mean?" He set his phone down and leaned forward, his voice soft, almost rehearsed. "You've been forgetting things. Little things at first, but it's getting worse." I didn't want to say anything because I know it's scary, but I think we need to talk about seeing a doctor. My stomach turned cold. "A doctor?" "Just to get checked out. Memory issues at your age. It could be nothing, but it could also be something we need to catch early." "At your age?" The words stung more than they should have. I'm 52, Harper. I'm not falling apart. I know, he said quickly. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying we should be careful. I care about you, Mom. I don't want anything to happen. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. His palm was warm. His eyes were sincere. And I didn't believe him. Not anymore. That afternoon, while Harper was on a work call in his room, I went back upstairs and took the notebook from my nightstand. I photographed every page with my phone, hands trembling, then put it back exactly where I'd found it. Then I left the house. I told Harper I was going to the library to catch up on some work. He barely looked up from his screen, just waved and said, "Drive safe." But I didn't go to the library. I went to see Dr. Patel, my primary care physician. She's a small woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense manner. I've been seeing her for 12 years. She knows me. When I explained what had been happening, the memory gaps, the fog, the notebook, her expression shifted from casual to concerned. "Claire," she said slowly, "are you taking any new medications?" "Supplements. Just the vitamins Harper bought for me." "Do you have them with you?" I didn't. I'd left them at home on purpose. But I described them, small, white, no visible markings. Dr. Patel was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that changed everything. "I'd like to run some tests. Blood work, cognitive screening. And I need you to bring me one of those vitamins." "Why?" She met my eyes. "Because what you're describing sounds less like memory loss and more like something being introduced into your system." The room tilted. "You think he's drugging me?" "I think we need to rule it out," she said carefully. "And Claire, until we know for sure, don't take anything he gives you. Not vitamins, not food he's prepared alone, nothing." I left her office in a daze. The world outside looked the same trees, same streets, same sky, but everything felt different. Dangerous. When I got home, Harper was in the kitchen making dinner. "Hey, Mom, how was the library?" "Good," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Productive." He smiled. "I made your favorite. Lasagna." I looked at the pan on the counter, steam rising from it, and felt my stomach twist. "Actually, I'm not that hungry. I ate at the library." His smile faltered. "Just barely." "Oh, okay." That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling again. But this time, I wasn't confused. I was planning. The next morning, I woke up early before Harper. I moved quietly through the house, careful not to make the floorboards creak. In the kitchen, I found the vitamin bottle sitting exactly where it always was, next to the coffee maker. I unscrewed the cap and shook one tablet into a small plastic bag I'd tucked in my pocket. Then I replaced it with a baby aspirin from the medicine cabinet. Same size, same color, close enough that he wouldn't notice unless he was really looking. My hands were shaking, but I did it anyway. At 7 a.m., I heard Harper's alarm go off upstairs. I quickly poured myself coffee and sat at the table, pretending to read the news on my phone. He came down a few minutes later, hair damp from the shower, looking relaxed. "Normal." "Morning, Mom." "Morning." He glanced at the counter. "Don't forget your vitamin." "I won't," I said. I waited until he sat down with his own coffee. Then I stood, walked to the counter, and made a show of taking the pill. I swallowed it with water, letting him see. He smiled. "Good." I sat back down, my heart pounding, and finished my coffee in silence. That afternoon, I drove to Dr. Patel's office and handed her the plastic bag with the tablet inside. "I'll send this to the lab," she said. "Results should be back in a few days. And if it's what you think," she looked at me seriously. "Then we involve the police." I nodded, but my throat was too tight to speak. "In the meantime," she continued, "keep switching them out. Keep acting normal. Don't let him know you're aware." "How am I supposed to do that?" My voice cracked. "He's my son." Dr. Patel's expression softened. "I know, but right now, you need to protect yourself first." I drove home on autopilot, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. When I walked through the door, Harper was at his usual spot at the kitchen table, laptop open, typing away. "Hey," he said without looking up. "How was your day?" "Fine. Quiet. Good." He paused, then glanced at me. "You seem better lately. More focused." I forced a smile. "I've been sleeping better." "That's great, Mom. Really great." He went back to typing, and I went upstairs, closed my bedroom door, and sat on the edge of the bed, trying not to fall apart. Over the next 3 days, I played the role of my life. I took the fake vitamins every morning. I let Harper cook for me, but pushed the food around my plate, eating only what I'd prepared myself when he wasn't looking. I pretended to forget small things, where I put my glasses, what day the trash went out, just enough to keep his suspicions quiet. It was exhausting. Every conversation felt scripted. Every smile felt like a mask. On the fourth day, Dr. Patel called. "Claire, can you come in? Today, if possible." Her voice was tight, professional. That told me everything. I arrived at her office an hour later. She closed the door behind me and handed me a printed lab report. "The tablet you gave me contained a benzodiazepine, a sedative. It's commonly used to treat anxiety, but in repeated doses, especially combined with other substances, it can cause exactly what you've been experiencing: memory loss, confusion, grogginess." I stared at the paper, the words blurring together. "Harper has been drugging me." "Yes." The room was too small suddenly. I couldn't breathe. Dr. Patel sat down beside me. "Claire, listen to me. You need to go to the police. Today. This is a crime." "He's my son," I whispered. "I know, but that doesn't change what he's doing." I left her office with the lab report in my purse and a phone number for a detective she trusted. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, trying to process what my life had become. Then I called the number. Detective Sarah Brennan met me at the Cedar Falls Police Department an hour later. She was younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with sharp eyes and a calm, no-nonsense demeanor. I told her everything. The vitamins, the notebook, the memory gaps, the lab results. She listened without interrupting, taking notes in a small black notebook of her own. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and said, "Mrs. Hayes, do you have any idea why your son would do this?" "No," I said. "I don't understand any of it." "Does he have access to your finances?" My stomach dropped. "Yes. He helps me with bills. Online banking. He has my passwords." Detective Brennan nodded slowly. "We'll need to look into that. In the meantime, I need you to do something difficult. I need you to go home and act like nothing's changed." "For how long?" "Until we have enough evidence to move forward. Right now, we have the lab results, but we need more. We need to establish a pattern. Document everything, times, dates, what he says, what he does." "Can you do that?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to pack a bag and leave and never look back. But I nodded. "Yes." "Good. And Mrs. Hayes? Be careful. If he realizes you're onto him, things could escalate." I drove home as the sun was setting, the sky turning deep orange and purple. The house looked the same as always, warm lights in the windows, Harper's car in the driveway. But it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a trap. I walked inside, and Harper looked up from the couch, smiling. "Hey, Mom. I was wondering where you went." "Just ran some errands," I said lightly. "Did you eat?" "I saved you some leftovers." "I'm not hungry, but thank you." He studied me for a moment, his eyes just a little too focused. "You sure you're okay? You seem tense." "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired." "You should rest," he said. "Take your vitamin and get some sleep." I nodded. "I will." That night, I lay in bed with my phone hidden under my pillow, recording everything. Every sound, every movement in the house. And I realized something that made my blood run cold. I wasn't just trying to catch my son in a crime. I was trying to survive him. The hardest part wasn't the fear. It was the acting. Every morning, I had to sit across from Harper at breakfast and pretend my world wasn't collapsing. I had to smile when he asked how I slept. I had to let him hand me a pill I knew was poison and watch me take it. Except I wasn't taking it anymore. I'd perfected the sleight of hand, palming the tablet, pretending to swallow, hiding it under my tongue until I could spit it out later. It felt like something from a movie, except this was my kitchen, and the person trying to hurt me was the boy I'd raised. By the end of the first week, my head was completely clear. The fog had lifted. My memory was sharp again, and with that clarity came anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, methodical kind that makes you dangerous. I started going through the house when Harper was out. Carefully, quietly. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I knew there had to be more. I found it in his room. Harper had always been private about his space, even as a kid. I respected that. I never snooped. But this wasn't snooping anymore. This was survival. His laptop was password protected, but his desk wasn't. In the bottom drawer, hidden under a stack of old tech manuals, I found a folder. Inside were printed bank statements. My bank statements. I sat on the floor and went through them one by one, my hands trembling. Transfers I didn't recognize. Withdrawals I'd never made. Small amounts at first, $200 here, $300 there, but they'd been increasing over the past 6 months. In total, nearly $18,000 was missing from my savings account. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. There was more. Printed emails between Harper and someone named Jay Whitman, a financial advisor I'd never heard of. The emails talked about managing mother's assets, about preparing for the transition, about ensuring cooperation through medical intervention. Medical intervention. I took photos of everything with my phone, my hands shaking so badly I had to retake some of them. Then I put it all back exactly as I'd found it and left his room. That night at dinner, Harper was especially cheerful. "I've been thinking," he said, cutting into his chicken. "Maybe we should look into getting you some help around the house. Someone to come in a few days a week, help with cleaning, meals, that kind of thing." I kept my face neutral. "I don't need help. I'm managing fine." "I know, but you're not getting any younger. And with your memory issues." "I don't have memory issues," I said, a little too sharply. He paused, fork halfway to his mouth. "Mom, we've talked about this." "No, Harper. You've talked about this. You've been telling me I'm forgetting things, losing things, making mistakes. But the truth is, I'm not." The air in the room changed. Harper set his fork down slowly, his eyes fixed on mine. "What are you saying?" I should have stopped. Detective Brennan had warned me, don't tip him off. But the anger was burning in my throat, and I couldn't swallow it anymore. "I'm saying maybe I'm not as confused as you think I am." For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then Harper smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Mom, you're doing it again. Getting paranoid. This is exactly what Dr. Patel warned us about." My blood went cold. "What? Dr. Patel?" "I spoke with her last week. She said these kinds of delusions are common with early cognitive decline." He was lying. Dr. Patel would never have spoken to him without my permission. But the way he said it, so calm, so confident, made me doubt myself for a split second. That was his weapon. Doubt. "I think we should schedule that appointment," Harper continued. "Get you properly evaluated. I've already looked into some excellent specialists." "No. Mom." I said no. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "I'm going to bed." I left him sitting there and went upstairs, closing my bedroom door and locking it for the first time in months. My phone buzzed. A text from Detective Brennan. "Any updates?" I typed back quickly. "Found financial records. He's been stealing from me. Also claimed my doctor spoke to him." She didn't. Her response came a minute later. "Good work. Don't confront him again. We're building a case. How much longer can you hold out?" I stared at the message. How much longer? I didn't know. Every day felt like walking on a knife's edge. "I'll try," I typed back. That night, I barely slept. Every sound in the house made me jump. Around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway. They stopped outside my door. The handle turned slowly. Locked. The footsteps retreated. I lay there in the dark, my heart hammering, until the sun came up. The next morning, Harper acted like nothing had happened. He made breakfast, asked about my plans for the day, reminded me to take my vitamin. I played along, took the fake pill, smiled, pretended. But when he left for a grocery run, I called Detective Brennan. "He tried to get into my room last night," I said, my voice shaking. "I don't feel safe anymore." "Okay," she said calmly. "Here's what we're going to do. Can you stay somewhere else tonight? A friend's house? A hotel?" I don't know. If I leave, he'll know something's wrong. Claire, your safety is more important than this investigation. But if I leave now, will you have enough to arrest him?" There was a pause. "Honestly, it's borderline. The financial records help, but a good lawyer could argue you authorized the transfers and just forgot. We need something more concrete." "Like what?" "Like catching him in the act, or getting him to admit what he's been doing." I closed my eyes. "You want me to wear a wire? I want you to think about it. No pressure. But yes, if you're willing, it would help." I thought about my son, about the little boy who used to bring me dandelions from the yard, who cried when his goldfish died, who held my hand at his father's funeral. And I thought about the man who'd been slowly poisoning me for months, stealing from me, Erasing me. I'll do it, I said. 2 days later, Detective Brennan came to the library during my shift. She brought a small recording device, no bigger than a pack of gum, and showed me how to clip it inside my cardigan pocket. It's voice activated, she explained. Just try to get him talking. Ask questions. See if he'll slip up. What if he doesn't? Then at least we'll have documented his behavior. But Claire, if at any point you feel unsafe, you get out. Do you understand? You call 911 and you leave. I nodded, even though my whole body was trembling. That evening, I went home with the wire hidden in my pocket. Harper was in the kitchen, making dinner as usual. Hey, Mom. Good day. It was okay. I took a breath. Harper, can we talk? He turned, spatula in hand. Of course. What's up? I sat at the table, my hands folded to keep them from shaking. I've been thinking about what you said. About seeing a specialist. His face brightened. Really? That's great, Mom. I think it's the right call. But I need to understand something first. Why are you so convinced something's wrong with me? He set the spatula down and came to sit across from me. Because I care about you. And I've seen the signs. What signs? The forgetfulness. The confusion. Leaving the stove on. Losing things. But Harper, I said carefully, what if I'm not actually forgetting? What if someone's making me think I am? His expression didn't change. What do you mean? I mean, what if someone wanted me to seem confused? To seem like I needed help? What would they gain from that? The kitchen was silent except for the low bubbling of something on the stove. Harper leaned back in his chair, studying me. Mom, you're scaring me. This is exactly the kind of paranoia. I found the bank statements, Harper. His face went very still. I found the emails. The transfers. All of it. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then slowly he smiled. Not a warm smile. Something else entirely. Well, he said quietly, I guess we're done pretending. The air between us changed. It was like watching ice form on a window, slow, quiet, and then suddenly everything was frozen. Harper stood up and walked to the stove, turning off the burner. He moved calmly, methodically, like he was running through a checklist in his mind. You know, he said, his back still to me, I thought you'd figure it out eventually. You were always sharper than people gave you credit for. But I honestly didn't think it would be this soon. My throat was dry. Why are you doing this? He turned around, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. The mask was gone completely now. What was left was something cold and calculating. Why? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Mom, do you have any idea what it's been like? Taking care of you all these years? Putting my life on hold while you just existed. I never asked you to stay. You didn't have to ask. That's the thing about being a good son. You're expected to sacrifice. Dad dies, and suddenly I'm the man of the house. I'm supposed to step up, be responsible, make sure you're okay. He shook his head. Well, I'm tired of it. So you decided to drug me? Steal from me? I decided to secure my future, he said flatly. That money was going to be mine eventually anyway. I just moved up the timeline. By making me think I was losing my mind. By making everyone else think you were losing your mind, he corrected. The pills just helped speed things along. Made you foggy enough to be believable. A few memory lapses here, a little confusion there. It builds a narrative, Mom. A medical one. I felt sick. The notebook. You were documenting it. Building evidence. Of course. You can't just declare someone incompetent without proof. But once I had enough documentation, once I got you evaluated by the right doctor, I could petition for guardianship. And once I had that, he shrugged. Your assets become my assets. Your decisions become my decisions. I would never have let that happen. You wouldn't have had a choice. That's the beauty of it. He pushed off the counter and walked closer. Do you know how easy it is to erase someone legally? Especially someone your age, living alone, showing signs of decline? One signature from a judge, and you disappear. Not physically. You'd still be here, in this house, probably in some kind of assisted living eventually. But legally, you'd be gone. I stood up slowly, my legs shaking. You're my son, and you're my inheritance. His voice was cold, mechanical. I'm 28 years old, Mom. I've been living in this house, working a dead-end job, watching my friends travel, buy houses, start families. Meanwhile, I'm stuck here playing caretaker to someone who doesn't even need one. Then why didn't you just leave? Because I'm not stupid, he snapped. If I left, you'd change your will. You'd cut me out, or at least reduce what I'd get. But if I stayed, if I played the devoted son, if I made myself indispensable. He smiled. You'd never suspect a thing. Until now. His smile faded. Until now. We stood there, 10 feet apart, the kitchen table between us. The recording device in my pocket felt like it was burning a hole through the fabric. So what happens now? I asked quietly. Harper tilted his head, considering. Well, that depends. How much have you told people? Nobody. I just figured it out. You're lying. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was commenting on the weather. You've been acting different for days. More alert. More careful. You stopped eating the food I made, didn't you? And I'm willing to bet you haven't actually taken your vitamins in over a week. I didn't answer. See, this is the problem, Mom. You think you're clever, but you're obvious. Every little change in behavior, every question you ask, it all tells a story. He stepped closer. So I'll ask again. Who did you tell? No one. Did you go to the police? My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear my own voice. No. You're lying. Harper, please. Where's your phone? What? Your phone. Give it to me. I took a step back. No. His jaw tightened. Mom, give me your phone. Now. No. He moved faster than I expected, lunging around the table. I stumbled backward, my hips slamming into the counter. He grabbed my arm, his grip iron tight. Let go of me. Give me the phone. I twisted away, breaking free, and ran for the front door. Behind me, I heard him coming, his footsteps heavy and fast. My hands fumbled with the lock. It wouldn't turn. Panic flooded through me. Harper caught up, grabbing my shoulder and spinning me around. His face was red, furious. You called them, didn't you? You called the cops. Get away from me. I shoved him as hard as I could. He stumbled back, hitting the wall, and for a moment we both froze. Then I saw it. The flash of blue and red lights through the front window. Harper saw it too. His face went white. What did you do? The doorbell rang, followed by heavy knocking. Police. Open the door. Harper grabbed my arm again, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper. Mom, please. Don't do this. We can work this out. I'll give the money back. I'll leave. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding. You tried to erase me, I said, my voice shaking. You drugged me. You stole from me. You were going to lock me away and take my life. I'm your son. No. I pulled my arm free. My son died the day you put those pills in my hand. The knocking got louder. Ma'am, we need you to open the door. I turned away from Harper and unlocked the door. Detective Brennan stood on the porch, 2 uniformed officers behind her. Mrs. Hayes, are you all right? I'm fine. My voice was steadier than I felt. I got everything. It's all recorded. She nodded, then looked past me to Harper, who stood frozen in the hallway, his face a mixture of shock and rage. Harper Hayes, Detective Brennan said, stepping inside. You're under arrest for financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, fraud, and assault. This is insane, Harper said, his voice rising. She's confused. She's been having memory problems. Ask anyone. We have the lab results, Mr. Hayes. We know about the benzodiazepines. We have the financial records. And we have your confession on tape. The color drained from his face. What? One of the officers moved forward with handcuffs. Harper looked at me, his eyes pleading now. Mom, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Yes, you did, I said quietly. You meant every word. They let him out in handcuffs. I watched from the doorway as they put him in the back of the patrol car, my whole body trembling. Detective Brennan stayed behind, her hand on my shoulder. You did good, Claire. I know that wasn't easy. He was going to lock me away, I whispered. Make everyone think I was incompetent. And then I would have just disappeared. But you didn't. You fought back. I nodded, but I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. She squeezed my shoulder gently. Is there someone I can call? Someone who can stay with you tonight. I thought of Janet from the library, of my sister in Des Moines, who I hadn't spoken to in months because I'd been too embarrassed to admit how isolated I'd become. I'll make some calls, I said. After Detective Brennan left, I stood in the kitchen, looking at the half-prepared dinner still sitting on the stove, the vitamin bottle on the counter, the chair where Harper had sat just minutes ago, confessing to everything. The house was quiet, emptier than it had ever been. But for the first time in months, I could breathe. The first night alone was the hardest. Janet came over and stayed until midnight, making tea, listening, not trying to fix anything with empty words. She just sat with me while I cried, really cried, for the first time since this whole nightmare began. "You're safe now," she kept saying. "You're safe." But safety felt like a foreign concept. The house that had been my home for 23 years felt contaminated. Every room held a memory that had been poisoned. The kitchen where he'd drugged me. The table where he'd smiled while lying to my face. The hallway where he'd tried to get into my locked bedroom. After Janet left, I walked through each room, turning on every light. I couldn't stand the darkness anymore. I found myself standing in Harper's doorway, looking at his neat bed, his organized desk, the childhood photos still hanging on the wall. Pictures of little league games, school plays, family vacations when his father was still alive. When had he changed? Or had he always been this way, and I'd just been too close to see it? I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, watching the sun come up through the living room window, painting the sky pink and gold. My phone rang around 8 a.m. Detective Brennan. "Morning, Claire. How are you holding up?" "I'm here," I said. It was the most honest answer I could give. "Harper made bail this morning. His lawyer got him out on bond." My stomach dropped. "He's out?" "Yes, but there's a no-contact order in place. He's not allowed to come near you, call you, or contact you in any way. If he violates it, he goes straight back to jail. Do you understand?" "Yes." "If you see him, if he tries to reach out, you call 911 immediately. Don't engage, don't respond, just call." Okay. After we hung up, I sat with the phone in my lap, trying not to imagine Harper out there somewhere, free, angry, knowing everything had fallen apart. The next few weeks blurred together. I met with lawyers, signed statements, gave depositions. The legal process moved slowly, grinding forward in a language I barely understood. But my lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Chun, translated everything into plain terms. "He's going to try to make you look unreliable," she warned me during one of our meetings. "His defense will focus on your age, your supposed memory problems, trying to paint you as a confused elderly woman who misunderstood a loving son's intentions." "I'm 52, not elderly," I said sharply. She smiled. "I know, and we'll make sure the jury knows it too. We have the lab results. We have the recording. We have the financial records. The evidence is solid, Claire. But you need to be prepared for him to say things that will hurt." She was right. When the preliminary hearing came, I sat in the courtroom and listened to Harper's lawyer describe me as a lonely widow suffering from early cognitive decline. Someone who misinterpreted her son's genuine concern as malicious intent. I watched Harper sit there in a suit I'd bought him for a job interview 2 years ago, looking somber and respectful, playing the part of the worried son. It made me sick. But then Patricia stood up and played the recording. The courtroom went silent as Harper's voice filled the space, cold and calculating. "You're my inheritance. I'm tired of it. Once I had guardianship, your assets become my assets." I watched his lawyer's face fall. I watched the judge's expression harden. And I watched Harper stare down at the table, his jaw clenched, knowing there was no way to spin those words into something innocent. The case moved to trial 3 months later. I testified for 2 hours, walking the jury through everything. The vitamins, the notebook, the missing money, the moment I realized my own son was trying to erase me. Harper's lawyer tried to shake me, asking pointed questions about my memory, my age, my relationship with my son. "Isn't it true, Mrs. Hayes, that you've been lonely since your husband passed?" "Yes." "And isn't it true that your son stayed with you, helped you, supported you?" "Yes." "So isn't it possible that you misinterpreted his care as control?" I looked directly at the jury. "No. Care doesn't come with sedatives hidden in vitamin bottles. Control does." The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the foreman stood and read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel relieved. I just felt empty. Harper was sentenced to 6 years in prison, with restitution ordered for the stolen money. As they led him out of the courtroom, he looked back at me once. I didn't look away. The house still felt wrong after that. Too big, too quiet, too full of ghosts. 6 months after the trial, I put it on the market and moved into a smaller apartment across town. Someplace with no history, no shadows. Janet helped me pack. So did my sister, who flew in from Des Moines and apologized for not being there when I needed her. I should have called more, she said, folding dish towels into a box. I should have visited. I should have asked, I replied. I was so used to handling everything alone, I forgot I didn't have to. We found the vitamin bottle while cleaning out the kitchen. I stood there holding it, this small plastic container that had nearly destroyed my life. Throw it away, my sister said gently. I did, but not in the house trash. I took it outside to the bin in the alley and dropped it in, listening to it clatter against the metal bottom. Then I walked back inside and kept packing. It's been 2 years now. I still work at the library. I still drink my coffee black. I still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, convinced I hear footsteps in the hallway. Before remembering I'm safe, I'm in a different place. I'm alone by choice this time, not by deception. Harper writes me letters from prison. I don't open them. My lawyer keeps them filed away in case we need them, but I don't read them. Whatever he has to say, I don't need to hear it. Some people ask if I'll ever forgive him, if there's a path to reconciliation when he gets out. I don't know how to answer that. How do you forgive someone for trying to erase you? For looking you in the eye every day and methodically stealing your mind, your money, your future? Maybe some people can. I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be. What I do know is this: I survived. Not because I was strong or brave or particularly clever. I survived because I paid attention when something felt wrong. Because I asked for help. Because I refused to let someone else's version of my reality replace my own. The mind is a fragile thing. Memory, clarity, sense of self, they can all be manipulated, especially by someone you trust. It doesn't take much. Just small moments repeated over time. Tiny erosions of confidence until you can't tell what's real anymore. That's the part that still keeps me up at night. Not what happened, but how easily it almost worked. I think about the alternate version of this story. The one where I kept taking those pills. Where I believed Harper when he said I was confused. Where I signed the papers he put in front of me and slowly disappeared into a diagnosis that didn't exist. In that version, I'd be sitting in some facility right now, medicated, managed, a shell of who I used to be. And Harper would be living in my house, spending my money, telling people how sad it was, what happened to his mother. But that's not how this story ended. I look different now. Not physically, though I did cut my hair short. Something I'd wanted to do for years, but Harper always said made women my age look severe. I wear brighter colors. I say no without apologizing. I lock my doors and check them twice, and I don't feel paranoid doing it. I trust differently now too. More carefully, but not less. I've learned the difference between healthy caution and letting fear win. Last month, Janet and I went to a library conference in Chicago. We had dinner at a restaurant overlooking the river, and she asked if I was doing okay. Really okay, she clarified. Not just fine. I thought about it. I'm getting there, I said. Some days are harder than others. But I'm here. I'm myself. And that's more than I had 2 years ago. She raised her glass. To being here. We clinked glasses, and I meant it when I drank. Because being here, being fully, completely, undeniably present in my own life, was something I'd almost lost without even knowing it. And now that I have it back, I'm never letting it go again. If you're listening to this story and thinking, that could never happen to me, I need you to stop and really consider that. Because that's exactly what I thought too. I wasn't naive. I wasn't careless. I was an educated, independent woman who'd raised a child, managed a household, survived loss. I thought I knew how to spot danger. But danger doesn't always announce itself with sirens and flashing lights. Sometimes it arrives quietly, wrapped in concern, spoken in the voice of someone who says they love you. The truth is, the people who can hurt us most are the ones we've given pieces of ourselves to. They know our routines, our passwords, our weaknesses. They know exactly which threads to pull to make us unravel. And when it happens slowly, one small lie at a time, one tiny manipulation building on the last, You don't see the cage being built around you until the door locks. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't let anyone, not family, not friends, not anyone, convince you that your own perception is faulty. Pay attention to patterns. One forgotten conversation is normal. A dozen documented mistakes that you don't remember making? That's a story being written about you without your permission. Protect your autonomy. Your finances, your medical decisions, your legal rights. These things are yours. Don't hand them over easily, even to people you love. Especially to people you love. Ask for help. I almost didn't. I almost kept it to myself because I was embarrassed, because I didn't want to believe it, because he was my son. Silence protects abusers. Speaking up protects you. And finally, you are not too old, too confused, too emotional, or too anything to trust yourself. If someone is trying to convince you otherwise, ask yourself why. This isn't just a story about what happened to me. It's a warning about what could happen to anyone. Because the tools Harper used, gaslighting, financial abuse, chemical sedation, they're not rare. They're just quiet, but they fall apart in the light. So turn on the lights. Ask the questions. Demand the answers. And never, ever let someone else tell you who you are. Your life is yours. Protect it. Thank you for listening to this story. If it resonated with you, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, please share it. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And you are not alone. Don't forget to subscribe to Stories from Family and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Until next time, stay aware, stay safe, and stay yourself.